That overlay isn't quite big enough. Hey, my name is Bill. You're tuned into the Pennsylvania Rock Show, featuring best unsigned rock and metal that Pennsylvania has to offer, right here on PARockshow.com, megarockradio.net, and KFGD 107.1 FM St. Louis, Missouri, XRP Radio in Birmingham, United Kingdom, Roodaroo Radio in Ocean Beach, San Diego, California. Hamilton, Ontario, Canada brings us Alt Rock Radio, which is altrockradio.ca. And also in the thriving metropolis of Leechburg, Pennsylvania, we have my home station, buildthescene.com/radio. My name is Bill. This is episode number 600 of the Pennsylvania Rock Show. With me tonight is Core Rozzik. There he is. It's Core, correct?
Yes, it is. And sometimes people call me Corey. In fact, back in the day, in the old New York City scene days, I guess because everybody was very glam, people just assumed I was Corey, like a Nicky, and I was too new and polite to correct them. So there's still people from those old days that still call me Corey, and I still don't correct them, but it is Core.
See, the reason I ask is because Emmy, when she first introduced me to you, called you Corey. And then when I was watching your video tonight, right in the middle, when the music stops, you say Rozzik, Core Rozzik, which was kind of cool. It's like the 007 thing there in the middle.
that video's got a couple of little winks to things, and I guess that was my one way of trying to finally correct the spelling of my name without having to call anybody out.
So first of all, let's start off with the fact that you're from New York and you're on the 600 episode of the Pennsylvania Rock Show, which is kind of weird, except I mentioned Emmy, who was originally from the Pittsburgh area. She's now in northeastern Pennsylvania, and that's the link I'm using to include you on the Pennsylvania Rock Show.
I have quite.
Oh no, you froze a little bit.
I'm back now. Okay. Well, no, I still have quite the history. I actually am more or less living in Pennsylvania now myself, close to Milford and Pike County. And my family actually built a house here in 1970. So I've been coming to Pennsylvania since I was a baby. And just with the pandemic and everything, I pretty much started living here. I'm only really in New York City now, maybe once a week now. So you could say I'm a transplant. It's actually funny because during the whole hipster revolution of like the mid 2000s, I kind of would make fun of all the people that would move to New York, all the hipsters. They were all like from Ohio or something. But I guess in some way, now ironically, I'm kind of a Pennsylvania transplant. But for the last 2 years, I've been more or less living up here.
So that's like northeastern PA. Is that where Milford is?
Yeah. I'm pretty close to Milford. I'm about 35 minutes north of East Stroudsburg. 40 minutes east from Scranton, Wilkes-Barre. So kind of in that general area.
My wife has family in Scranton.
Oh, okay.
And there used to be a RV dealership with that I shared a last name with there.
Small world.
Didn't know any of them, but when I wanted to register my last name as a domain, they owned it.
That happens, man. Apparently, I share a name with a Greek goddess. Who would have thought? I don't know. People are like, "Oh, you're so like clever. You named yourself after a Greek goddess." It's like, no. But maybe we should run with that. That sounds a little smarter.
So tell me a little bit about your history as a musician. Like when did you realize that you wanted to be a musician? Like when did it click?
I think it clicked at an early age. I think everybody finds themselves at different times in their lives, but I somewhere around like the fourth grade, I kind of discovered Queen and really took a liking to their music. And I was a cassette kid, so I started collecting like all their albums. And being a 90s kid, I really started listening to the local, radio stations, and really dived into obviously what was going on at the times with, Nirvana and Brother Kane and things like that. I discovered some more classic rock like AC/DC and things like that. And I realized for some reason music really spoke to me at an early age. So when I was 12, I just naturally started playing guitar. My dad got me a guitar, and I just started writing songs right away. I wasn't too big for I don't know if it was my never diagnosed ADD or what it was, but I was never that big into learning other people's songs for some reason. I don't know why, but I just seemed to gravitate into this concept of like playing chords and figuring out my own patterns and just kind of writing my own songs. And I don't know if they were really good when I was 12. I don't know. I don't even remember what I was writing about. I was probably writing about dogs or like, some sort of, fantasies or something, I guess you'd have as a adolescent teen, but I knew that's what I wanted to do. And I think coming from somewhat of a broken home too, I think, for at least some kids, I would imagine, not just myself, that it's kind of a form of not just a release, but also attention. It's kind of like, hey, look what I can do. This is something that I can do. And if there's frustrations going on, which there always tends to be, you can release that through the music. So it kind of gives you a little bit of an identity. And I think even to modern day times, I think sometimes music can be kind of my self-defense mechanism, my ego boost, my puffing up my chest. Like, you can't get to me. You can't attack me because I have this music. I have this persona. And that's a type of energy and power that I think a lot of musicians wouldn't be able to channel or have if they weren't musicians. We wouldn't have that. So I think music it means a lot of things for a lot of people, depending.
I do want to mention, since Charlie, also known as Doyle, commented on the video. He says, "What's up, fellas? Hey, is that Corey? Sorry. Say I did it.
Yeah.
What I want to bring up is that if you're watching the video live on YouTube, you can comment and we can see it. It pops up on our screens. If you're on Build the Scenes Facebook page, it'll also pop up live on our screen. And I wish the spammers that are commenting on it would go away."
Oh, there's always that.
See, I kind of take that as a little bit of a compliment, because that means they think that they're going to be seen.
Well, that's what it's all about, right? Everybody wants to be seen, right?
So I don't know if Emmy warned you or if you've listened to any of the episodes, but I have some questions that you wouldn't normally be asked. They take a little more thinking. I blame it on being a teacher.
That's okay. I'd rather you do that than ask me the same 5 questions that every up and coming artist gets asked, and makes you want to just say, why didn't I just go to the gym? Why am I doing this? Yeah.
So I think being from New York, this is an appropriate question. Recently I did a photo shoot of a band on the show, and they were from Michigan, but they were in Katanning, Pennsylvania, which is near Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And they were excited. They were eating Vocelli's Pizza, which is a little local chain. And I was like, there are so many mom and pop places around here that are better than that. And that turned into this question, which is, what is your favorite venue that you've played at that had pizza that you liked?
Well, that's, I don't know if I can answer that accurately. I'll tell you what the first thing that comes to mind, but it's not really answering the question. We had played this venue in Mansfield, Ohio called the Electric Company. And the owner had gotten us what is considered local pizza. It's Columbus style pizza.
Yeah, that's what was happening that night too. Just to be clear, the owners of the venue bought the pizza.
Okay, yeah. So they got us what they call Columbus, Ohio style pizza from a very popular chain in that area called Donato's, and that their pizza is a thin crust pizza. And the best way to describe it is, if you've ever had Domino's pizza, which obviously we have Domino's pizza nationally, if you get their thin crust, it's this very paper thin, almost like a matzah, and it's it's cut in like 50 different ways. So I was kind of taken aback when we got it, not because I'm like a New York pizza snob by any means. I mean, honestly, I think almost it really takes a lot. Like I said, I'm watching my manners here very well so far. It really takes a lot to really ruin a pizza. I mean, obviously there's different levels of like authenticism and that savory sauce, but it's like, how do you mess up like cheesy, saucy goodness? You know what I mean? There's different levels of it. But I was always fond of like the crappy, thin crust Domino's pizza. So when I got Donato's, I was like, whoa, this is like Domino's thin crust, but like more homemade-ish, like this is great. So I don't know, I'm not one of those New York snobs. I mean, I really enjoy New York pizza, of course, growing up with it. But you can still get good pizza, across the country. Sure, there's certain aspects where like, yeah, it's not the same, and some of it's not as good. Well, the worst pizza I ever had, though, ironically, was also in Ohio, was in Youngstown, Ohio. Youngstown, Ohio, I forgot the name of the place because obviously I didn't really enjoy it. They got this other style that's like this bootleg Sicilian, but it's not really Sicilian. It's more long Ilio style. Like, I guess it's kind of Sicilian, kind of Ilios, kind of French bread, but no, it's not really French bread, so scratch that. But it's got this weird Ilios look to it. And there's no real, like, melted mutts. They just sprinkle some, like, Parmesan Romano on it, and we got hooked up with it. It was some sort of a deal where we went in, told them we were the band, and they gave us a bunch of free pies. And again, I was hungry. It was the last day of the tour. All people like, oh man, isn't that good stuff? Isn't it great? I'm just like, yeah, whatever. It's good because it's free, So I've ironically had really good pizza and really terrible pizza in Ohio, same state. So, but yeah, when you ask that question, that's the thing that comes to mind. I just remember like our first tour in 2017 with Bunny the Bear was the first time we really had done a full tour as Rozzik. And I guess the band had some sort of a rider for pizza, and for some reason, every night it was Little Caesars, Wow. But, yeah.
The reason is.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, there was one night.
I actually like Little Caesars. We don't get it a lot, but.
Well, again, this is what I'm talking about, the different levels of pizza. It's like, well, I guess with inflation and the pandemic, it's not a $5 hot and ready anymore. It's probably like a $6 or something.
I think it's closer to $8 now.
Yeah. So. But for a period of time, when you'd get that $5 hot and ready, it was pretty enjoyable, but you enjoyed it even more because you felt proud of yourself. Like, I did a good thing. I only spent $5 on this thing, so it made it like even better than it actually was. You felt like you're getting a steal, it's kind of like when you go to McDonald's, you really shouldn't be eating McDonald's, but you don't feel so bad when it's like the 2 for $3 because you're just like, I only spent $3 on this thing. I guess it doesn't count.
I'm laughing because I got today, the Penguins scored a bunch of goals yesterday in their hockey game, and I got free chicken nuggets, and I bought a Coke and French fries for $2.79. I had 6-piece, and
yeah, you had a whole meal right there.
That's exactly what happened. I was like, yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah. The funny thing about that Bunny the Bear tour was that this is what's also ironic. We were playing Rochester, New York. And at that point, we were already quite a bit of shows in. And I don't know why we hadn't done it previously, but we offered to do what they call what do they call it? They call it a buyback or something like that, or a payout. I forgot what that, I'm drawing a blank. Maybe it's buyback or something like that. But that's basically where, like, because of the rider, there's an option where instead of getting the food, they'll just give you cash. So for some reason, this time we cashed in on that option, and we went to a local Rochester, New York pizza place and ordered real pizza, and it was actually the worst pizza I ever had in my life. I don't know why, but like it was really bad. Like the sauce was like flavorless, and they took forever to make it. It was really bad, and I was just like, "This is the luck we have." Like the one time we're like, "All right, we're not going to get Little Caesars pizza, we're going to get real pizza in Rochester, New York, still New York." And yeah, it was pretty bad. I mean, Youngstown, Ohio would go underneath that, but at least in my memory, I mean, like I've had 7-Eleven pizza that I enjoyed more than that, you know. So, like I said, you can't. It's hard to mess up pizza. Like I said, of course, there's different levels of quality and goodness, but you know that idea of bread, sauce, and cheese, you know, it's timeless.
We took a bus tour to New York City probably 3 years ago, right before before the pandemic. So 3 years ago. And it was my parents, my wife, my kids. And I told them all, I was like, listen, I don't care what we do as long as we get a hot dog off the street and we
Yes.
get pizza and we get pizza. So we got the hot dogs and nobody liked them.
Well, it depends
And
where you
then
go for them.
we got what's it, a Sabrat? Is that what the brand is?
Yeah. Well, yeah, Sabaret. Yeah, Sabaret.
Yeah.
Those are supposed to be good. I like those.
Well, to me, they tasted like a Nathan's hot dog, and I don't like Nathan's. So,
Oh.
but I ate it. Everybody else didn't. And then the other thing we did, you know, I said we're going to New York. We have to get a New York style pizza. Yeah, we ended up. Our hotel was in New Jersey, and we ordered from a pizza place in New Jersey.
Wow.
So, yeah. So we're gonna have to go back, I think, just so I can remember eating the pizza.
I think it depends where you go. I think there's only like 1 or 2 left, but I used to go to this place called Gray's Papaya, and they had the best like grilled hot dogs and this like really interesting papaya juice. So whenever I would go to the city back in the day, I would start because back in the day you could actually like go down to the Lower East Side and like down this whole strip, which was like West 8th to St. Mark's Place. It was just t-shirt shop, head shop, you know. So like you know, as a young adult, teenager, whatever, you know, you'd hit the city and you know. Oh, I'm back. Okay. I could go in there and get like, you know, an Overkill t-shirt and a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 t-shirt and, you know, some cigarettes and a hot dog, you know? So that was kind of what I used to do. But yeah, the city's changed a lot. So, you know, maybe the hot dogs are not good anymore. I don't know. I haven't had a New York City hot dog in a long time. So
I think it was probably just us.
Yeah.
Although it was funny, the tour guide, and I'm not going to do it, but the tour guide said, listen, you have to order it the correct way or they're going to charge you more. You'll notice that they don't have prices. And my daughter practiced saying it with the accent, and then she ordered it and we got charged to the New York price. It was great.
I wasn't aware of that, really.
Or he could have just been telling us that.
Maybe.
But all right, so let's say that I'm going to start that question over. Kiss has played to the sharks in the ocean. Metallica has played on Antarctica. Where's one place in the world that you would think would be cool to play that isn't normally a venue?
I would probably want to do well, there's 2 or 3 different places that I would want to do just because I'm weird. I'll just mention all 3 of them. So one of them would probably be deep within the Northwest Pacific woods, in an isolated area, in an attempt to channel Bigfoot, and we could call it Bigfoot Fest. And hopefully, you know, we'll make enough noise that the Bigfoot would surface and throw rocks at us. So that would be one of them. I think the other one would be to again, just because I'm weird, to play Loch Ness in Scotland, to actually play like on the lake and see if all that rumbling would channel Nessie. You see kind of the theme that we got going on here. And then after that, I would probably want to play in Papua New Guinea, and we can call it like Cannibal Fest. And if the natives don't like us, then they could just eat us. So that would probably be the three places I would want. It's actually messed up because in hindsight, I might die in either one of those scenarios, but I think it would be good publicity anyways.
We just got some laugh reactions to the video on that.
No, that's good.
Let's say that you go out on another tour and somehow I end up driving your bus. What is the soundtrack that I'm going to be playing in between show stops?
Probably the discography of Blue Oyster Cult.
I don't know that I can name a single one of their songs. I know that like I know their songs, but I couldn't off the top of my head.
Well, there's the big three that most people know, which is "Don't Fear the Reaper,"
see, yeah,
"Burning," "Burning for You," and Godzilla.
Okay, I got 1 out of 3.
Okay, yeah, those are the three that you'll always hear on the radio. And when I was younger, I wasn't a big BOC fan at all. Actually, I kind of thought they were kind of weird. But a couple of years ago, we had stopped at a record store because that's kind of my favorite pastime on tours. I always stop at record stores and see who's got like what vinyls or CDs for the car ride, and I picked up one of their records and I just fell in love with it. And again, they're Long Island guys from New York, so I kind of was like, this is kind of cool. They're kind of blue jeans, average Joe Long Island Marlboro Red cigarettes meets like all this like sci-fi aliens, like Dungeons and Dragons type stuff, And they just kind of became my favorite band. Ironically, going into the pandemic, and they actually put out their first record in 20 years during the pandemic, and I've now seen them 5 times through the pandemic. Yeah, they're like a cult band, no pun intended, but they're definitely cool cruising music. I love listening to their music, so that's probably what you'd be hearing a lot of on the road.
There's a venue about 8 miles from where I'm sitting right now called Preserving the Underground. It is literally, I want to say it's 500 capacity, but it is literally in the basement of a record store.
That is cool.
I haven't been there yet. I will for sure end up there one day, but it is, it's a record store, and they sell slightly used concert t-shirts as well.
Ooh, there might be something interesting there.
We do have a message for you. It says that you should play in Maryland again. The Zen West show was awesome.
Yeah, Michael. We'll be back. I think it's just a matter of when. It's like we definitely want to be all gung-ho about 2022, but I think we're still kind of treading lightly. As far as at least the winter goes, unfortunately, COVID cases are still high, and some areas are potentially due for a brutal winter, I think. But we're actually we got some stuff in the works. It's not, I don't know if I can really announce it yet, but we do have a Cincinnati and a Pittsburgh show in the works for March, so that should be announced soon. And we should be doing a really big, I guess you can kind of call it a convention. It's going to be like a 3-day weekend thing. But I wish I could announce it now, but I didn't get the contract yet, so I really shouldn't say. But we do have some really cool stuff in the works. And we got a bunch of new music coming out soon too. So it's all strategy. One thing's going to line up after the other. But we're definitely going to be back on the road next year in one capacity or another. So yeah, Michael, we'll be back to Maryland soon enough. I'm thinking when it gets a little bit warmer, because we were just there the beginning of December, and it was a really cool show. It was one of our few headlining shows this year. We did like an hour and 15-minute set, and we played our first record from start to finish, which we've never done. like we did it in its entirety with all the little skits and intros and everything, and it played back really well. So it was definitely a fun, intimate experience for our fans. So it was definitely a nice way to kind of finish out the year. So we'll definitely be back to Maryland sooner than later, but I'm thinking maybe like April or May or something like that.
So earlier tonight, I watched a video for Vengeance. Vengeance is not enough,
It's
and
not.
I felt like I was watching, like an episode of NCIS before the police showed up.
Right.
And I'm curious to, this lyrics definitely went along with what was going on the screen, but I'm curious as to what you would say the song is about.
Yeah, what's the song about? Well, this is the funny thing about a lot of the Cool Rozzik songs is I tend to write them as Core, but Cool Rozzik, the character, can be many different characters within that, if that makes any sense. So it's definitely coming from the more aggressive side of Core that wants to, kick butt, if you will. But it kind of stems from the idea of, someone has wronged you and you're basically looking to get even. That's like the bare bones concept of what it was. I think the funny thing is it originally stemmed from a past relationship I had where I had gotten back from tour and found out that my girlfriend was starting to, see or talk to somebody else. And I think I kind of had this vision in my head of like knocking on this guy's door, banging down his door, and basically wanting to, beat him up or something like that. And typically what I've done a lot in my past is I'll take something real and then I'll try to like fantasize it up into the Cool Rozzik universe. So, our next record, even though we're going to do the singles game, our first record was a concept record. So, whether anybody, yeah, sorry, someone was trying to call me, go figure. So, whether people pick up on the storyline or not, but basically the new storyline is that, Core wants to basically run for president or something like that, like overthrow the guard. There's some sort of this weird, like, social political power struggle kind of storyline that I'm still developing for the next record.
So it's almost a concept album type thing.
Yeah. I don't know when exactly the record will be in its entirety. I think it'll be a couple of singles before we get to that. But at least in my mind, there's this type of storyline. So like when you see Core, going into that bad guy lair in the video, it's kind of suggestive. You could just be like, oh, Core's just trying to like get his money back. Maybe those guys stole his money. Or you could go even deeper and be like, I don't know, are those like the evil record label executives, or, is the little guy with the suitcase, like the Russian dictator or something, and I'm trying to, like Peter Pan, steal from the rich, give to the poor. It really could be. I don't know if people are going to see, into all of that. But I'm kind of giving you pointers, but it's all kind of suggestive at this point. But it really could go a lot of different ways.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a moment and listen to "Vengeance Is Not Enough" by Cool Rozzik, and we'll be right back. For those of you that are watching live, and there's a handful of you, we're not actually going to play it live on the video. What you'll want to do is go to buildascene.com on Friday, starting 6 a.m. The whole episode will be available there. And then if you were with us at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a whole bunch of different radio stations and streaming sites that will play the show throughout the next week. If you weren't, you can go find that list on PARockShow.com. We'll get you there quicker, but it's going to take you to Build a Scene when you use that domain as well. Anyway, so what we're going to do now is we're going to pretend like we listen to the song. We're going to come back. I'm going to ask you some more questions. Okay, that was "Vengeance Is Not Enough" by Rozzik, who happens to be hanging out with me tonight on episode number 600 of the Pennsylvania Rock Show. To put that in perspective, the very first episode was September 14th, 2004. So, been at this for a little while. There's some hiatuses in there, and sometimes it wasn't once a week like it currently is, but 600 episodes is a lot.
That is a lot.
Anyway, let's see what I can throw at you. Some more of my normal interview questions. I know. Who is your Dave Grohl? And what I mean by that is, who would you want to go up on stage with and perform one of their originals with their band?
Oh, wow.
And I'll give you a moment to think about that, and I'll explain the question. So the Foo Fighters are known for pulling fans up out of the crowd.
Yes.
That they're holding signs that say, "Hey, I want to play this," and then they harass them, and then sometimes it's really good, and sometimes they should have stayed in the crowd.
Yes. No. Yeah. I'm familiar with that. Yeah. They had that young girl play drums, and she's phenomenal. I forgot her name.
Nandi, Nandi.
Yeah. I mean, yo, very good.
So this whole Dave Grohl thing came about because somehow on my YouTube, no matter what I search, the Foo Fighters or Dave Grohl ends up being on the right-hand side in that auto playlist. In fact, tonight when I listened to your song, watched the video, there was a Dave Grohl video next.
I mean, are you a Foo Fighters fan? Is it did you have a phase with them or something?
I really wasn't. And then it started. So then I started listening to it. And then, so now I do, but like, it just started one day. It was,
I just know that, I watch a lot of Bigfoot videos and alien videos. So like, that's always popping up. It's probably an algorithm thing of some kind, but
at this point, yes. But at the beginning, I have no idea how it started. It just, like, I would look up how to why the heater core wasn't working in my van, and the next video would be Dave Grohl, and I'm like, why is he there? And at this point, I have started watching all those videos, so that's why it's happening now. But
it's kind of interesting. It's like, who would I want to do that? I mean, there's actually a handful of people I would love to do that with. Probably the first one would be Alice Cooper, just because as a performer, he's been probably my biggest influence.
I do have to say, before I read anything on your website tonight, I watched a video and I was like, wow, I kind of feel Alice Cooper here. And then I went and read and I was like, I did feel Alice Cooper here.
Yeah. That would probably be one of them, would be Alice. Growing up, I gravitated to the way he performs and the whole psychology of, him getting into the Alice character. And I think it's very similar to what I do before a show. I kind of transform into that character. Unlike Alice, I do a lot of stage bantering. I sometimes kind of joke that I'm kind of the New York City Alice Cooper on a budget, because, us New Yorkers, we're very loud and chatty, so sometimes live I kind of rant and rave about whatever. So I would love to do a song with Alice, and I was fortunate enough to tour in 19 with Nita Strauss, who is Alice Cooper's guitar player, and she's been voted the best female guitarist in the world. And
she was just in Pittsburgh maybe a week ago. She played with Chip and the Charge Ups open for, which is one of our local bands. Oh,
I know Chip very well. I've done a few shows with Chip, actually. And I actually, one of them was, I was on tour with Nita. We played the Hard Rock and Chip opened up, and I met Chip there, and then Chip hooked me up. We played at the Fun House once together.
Mr. Smalls.
Yes, Mr. Smalls, the load in from hell. But yeah, that hill is tough. But
you only say that because you didn't play at the Smiling Moose.
Oh, well, there's a running gag with us and the Smiling Moose. I don't know why, like, we were booked there like 2 or 3 times, and every time, for one reason or another, the show got canceled. Whether it was like their end or our end, or I guess we're not meant to play there. But
well, they actually changed locations, and I don't think they're doing bands anymore.
So they're like the Frowning Moose now, or like it's like. But yeah, Alice would definitely be one of them. I think another one I'd love to do, even though I had sort of half done it in the past, but not formally or officially. I would love to definitely do a song with Steel Panther. Those guys are a lot of fun, and I've had the pleasure of meeting them and knowing them and doing shows with them and over different times throughout my career. But before I'd even done really anything with Rozzik, I had gone to go see them in Vegas, and I had met Michael Starr before the show, and then I was in the front row, and then I really don't know what happened, but somehow in my memory, I thought he handed me the microphone. I just remember I just jumped up onto the stage and I accidentally kicked some girl in the face. And I did like one verse of "We're Not Gonna Take It" by Twisted Sister, not really knowing the lyrics. And then they asked me to like step down. But that was like one of my first like rock star moments. So it would be kind of cool to do something with them more formally, just because they're a lot of fun live.
Hey,
so yeah.
Since you brought up Twisted Sister, if we were to play one of your songs backwards, what would we hear?
You would hear the song backwards.
That is the most straightforward answer I think I've ever gotten on that question.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
well, see, in case you're not familiar with the situation, back in, I want to say it was the 80s, there's this group of mothers, and I can't remember the name of them, but
the PMRC.
Yep, you got it. They took a bunch of music to the government, was like, this shouldn't be played, and blah blah blah. And Dee Snider came in and basically shut it down, everything they were trying to say.
Oh yeah, he totally kiboshed it. Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny because I think in more recent times people have sometimes intentionally put subliminal messages, where especially bands that do samples, or even like hip hop bands, even more so hip hop bands, where there's the beat and something's going on, and then you hear, like they intentionally put it in the forefront. And I guess if you played that backwards, then you might hear something forwards. But just to play something completely backwards, I mean, that's just open interpretation. And that was the whole problem with that whole case, was that they were trying to insinuate that, oh, in these sections you could hear someone say, do it, kill yourself, or whatever it was, and it really was just suggestive. I don't think the bands were that sinister nor clever to like intentionally do something like that. I think that was just.
I agree. I asked that question one time. I wish I could remember the band's name, but they actually they told me that they recorded a plant growing in a room, and it actually, there's sound, which I had no idea that you could hear a plant grow, and then they reversed that and used it in their song.
I feel like it would be a very either really, really low frequency or a really, really high frequency that you would almost barely be able to hear. Like it would be like almost like a hissing sound or something. I mean, I don't know.
But I was like, you did what? So
different.
I think I'm going to ask you one more oddball question, and then we'll get a little bit of more information off of you for the listeners, and then I will let you go into the evening. So let's see. I feel like you probably have at least one good answer to this. I want you to tell me about an embarrassing moment that happened on stage, but it can't be something that you did. It has to be something that someone else in your band did that embarrassed you.
Well, it didn't really embarrass me, but my guitar player Alex has a tendency to run around a lot, and he has a tendency to fall down sometimes. There was one time that there was like a drum riser, like yay high or whatever, and he tried to jump onto it, but he just kind of like fell like onto it. That was pretty funny. There was one time he drank a little bit too much, and we have like, I don't know if everyone knows what scrims are, but scrims are like these canvas things that cover your guitar heads. It usually says like the band name, or it's got some sort of artwork on it. And I don't know what he did. He like tripped and literally like went like into one, and it just like tipped down. Uh, and then when we were on tour with Nita Strauss, for the last night, and I'll keep it PG. If you really want to see what happened, you can look it up. But they basically pranked us, and they kind of came out with little props and gadgets and shaving cream and toilet paper, sprayed us down, and then slowly started undoing all of our drummer's drum set. So by the end of the song, he was just playing with like no drums, and we were still trying to like be good sports and play through it. So, if you look up like Rozzik, Nita Strauss, or Rozzik Punked or something like that, you should be able to find that video. So those are the things that would come to my mind.
Cool. All right. So I promised a normal question.
Cool.
Where can the listeners find you online?
It's a very normal question. Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere. We're on most digital streaming platforms. We're on Pandora. Just look up Rozzik on Spotify, Apple Music. Is iTunes even a thing anymore? I don't even know.
I think it's really just Apple Music.
It's Apple Music now.
They just rebranded it.
Yeah. So all you got to do is search Rozzik, and you will find us rather easily. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon. You could buy our first record, Vengeance Overdrive, on CD and vinyl on Amazon. And as far as websites go,
I just popped it up there below me.
Yeah, Rozzik.com, Instagram.com/Rozzik. Our Facebook is Rozzik NYC. But there's not too many other Rozziks floating around there. So if you look, if you got KOREROZZIK, you should be able to find us pretty easy.
And one more quick question: what's coming up for the band?
Everything
kind of touched on some of it, but
yeah, everything's kind of in the works right now. I wish I could say concretely what it is, but we're on the hunt for a big return tour. Going out nationally and doing a lengthy national tour. So hopefully sometime in the spring, early summer. We do have a couple of other songs that are in the process of being mixed and mastered. So once they're done, then we're going to kind of lay out a release plan for that. I do hope to be on the radio charts later this year. We're definitely going to be doing a radio campaign and getting one of the singles out to radio. And we should have some other fun appearances coming up shortly. So we're just kind of waiting to wrap up stuff and secure stuff for when hopefully things are much warmer and nicer. And let's hope that the pandemic ends soon. It is. We are going to year 3, so that's usually when these type of things would end. So
listen, being a teacher, I have different reasons for wanting it to end, but
right,
still similar.
Of course. No, it's been really tough, but. As far as the Rozzik band goes, we will be back soon. We're hoping to have some good announcements, in the next month or so. And we're definitely working on some more shows. So stay tuned on that. I wish I could say officially what we have going on, but should be able to do that soon. So in the meantime, just, keep in touch with us, Rozzik.com and Facebook.
Cool. I want to thank you for hanging out with me tonight on episode 600. And, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to thank you for hanging out with me. And I just popped up a little advertisement for my own stuff real quick. The Pennsylvania Rock Show is released every Friday. And also on Build a Scene, you can find 3 questions in a song, which is on the 1st and 15th of each month. The difference there is Pennsylvania, we kind of try and feature bands from Pennsylvania being from PA. And then
right.
3 questions in a song can be any band, any genre. And we also have Friendly Fire, which I haven't added to this yet, which is once a month on XRP Radio, which is the station in Birmingham. We go on live. We take a handful of songs with us, and we go to battle with their owner and station manager. And there's a live chat box, and the people listening discuss what they like about each song. Sometimes what they don't like, usually what they like.
Right.
And then they have to pick one of the songs and say that they liked it better. And usually what happens is Jonna and I lose because everyone in there is from the European nations and we're Yanks.
Right.
They won't admit that's what's happening, but that's what's happening.
Very nice.
But I believe we're doing an episode of that on the 15th, probably around 3:30. That one's more of a floating show. But anyway, you can find all that stuff at buildascene.com. You can find this full episode on buildascene.com or by going to parockshow.com. And that'll be there at 6 a.m. And it'll be on all the stations, and then it'll live there until I don't have a show anymore. But, I'm on year what? This is 17, 18 at this point. So it's probably going to be around for a while. Anyway, my name is Bill. This has been episode number 600 of the Pennsylvania Rock Show. We will check you out next Friday.